How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the James Loud Podcast. And today our special guests are Arjan and Joa from Greenhouse Seed Company, Strain Hunters, so many other things. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great, bro.
Yeah, we're doing really good.
Thank you so much for having us. It's an honor to be on your podcast. It's an honor to be in this great country of America. And we had a great time this week.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad I finally get you on the podcast. We did, during COVID, we filmed together on the James Loud Show. Yeah, I think it was you and Dust came on, and really, really good times.
Where was that?
That was, well, we did that remotely. So I did it from my house. You guys did it from your house, and you guys woke up super early in the morning.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
That was in 2020 or something.
That was 2020, yeah. The lot's changed since 2020.
5 years ago, bro.
Yeah. So you've been a mentor for me since I won my first Cannabis Cup in 2012. You had 150 cups by then, and you've kind of helped guide me in the right direction. Sometimes I'm going left or right, and you've given me some good pointers over the years with genetics, with branding, with a lot of things. So thank you for that.
You're most welcome.
Yeah.
Happy to share the knowledge and help the community.
Yeah, and then Joa's hospitality is bar none the greatest hospitality in the world. Whenever I go to Amsterdam, I'm taken care of. You guys have an amazing apartment there, and amazing food. It's always an epic adventure.
Yeah, so, nice, man. Yeah, well, always nice to have you there. So
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I love the city. Except for when it's freezing cold out.
Yeah, that's almost always. But
But don't forget, you guys here in San Francisco have great food too. Eh?
We do. We have amazing food.
I would say San Francisco has better food than Amsterdam.
I agree 100%. So we have so much diversity.
Yeah.
So with Amsterdam, they have good food if you know where to go. San Francisco just has amazing food all over.
Yeah, but like here, we went to a few nice restaurants. Any restaurant could be nice. In Amsterdam, you really have to hit a Michelin star restaurant to make sure you're really good, That's the difference.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about today how you guys met. Let's go way back in history to the beginning. I want to hear this because I've never actually heard it before, so I thought it would be a great starting point.
Let him tell the story because it's quite funny.
Yeah, well, he started already way before I joined Greenhouse. So 1985, no? Started with the seeds and stuff. 1992, the first dispensary in Amsterdam. I was still studying at that point, but smoking weed. I was not really an alcohol guy. I would smoke weed, go to the coffee shops a lot. And then I went to university in San Diego at UCSD for a year. And coming from a weed background and then going to the States, in those days, 94, 95, wasn't weed everywhere, right? There were no dispensaries back in the day. So I smoked Mexican weed, brick weed, until I could find some better ones through people that I met from Normal. And funny enough, I learned more about Greenhouse because Greenhouse was already a little bit on the radar in America, you know? So I heard about Greenhouse in California. And then when I went back to to Amsterdam, where I lived all my life and I studied, I had to do, at some point I had to get a job to pay the rent, right? After university. So I got a job at the Greenhouse. I applied for a job with Arjan. Coincidentally, now looking back, it's funny. And then just went for a cup of tea. They had a job interview. I joined the people that were there. And then I started at Greenhouse but the short story is I never left, but I enjoyed it from the get-go. And to be honest, I was really, I really liked cannabis much more than other stuff. And I really see the benefits, like I always went with my friends, play chess, play pool, never won fights, and I see other friends going to bars and drinking and, getting into fights and stuff.
Trouble, getting arrested, all that stuff.
And I was like, I was always the more chill guy. I do like parties and everything, but not really so much of the alcohol. So when I started at the Greenhouse, I was just, went after a couple of months, first High Times Cannabis Cup, I think 95 or 96. And that was such a big event, man. And I thought at that point, Holland was so far ahead, actually. Looking back at that point in time, we were ahead of the rest of the world, right?
Right.
Now it's a different story. We'll talk more about it later. But I thought we were going to legalize in 2-3 years at that moment in time. So, I thought, okay, we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And then every year was a different thing, different projects. We'll talk probably more about some stuff, but it's been a really interesting ride,
Yeah, it's always an adventure, and you guys travel so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, the travel is getting an issue now.
Yeah.
This year was, I think, the worst one because we've been traveling up and down. Now we have Argentina opening up in Brazil. which before was not on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been operating in Argentina the last 10 years to our distributor there, Fran, who I used to work with in Ibiza in Spain. And he moved back to Argentina. He said, Arjan, it's going to open in the future. Can I do the distribution for your nutrients? I said, yeah, sure. Why not? No, nothing to lose now. Yeah. And we started that 10 years ago, and we got everything legalized as one of the first ones and still one of the few ones.
Yeah.
So we control like 50, 60% of the market with nutrients there. Because, you know, our product for private growers and also for commercial growers is probably one of the best and for sure the most easiest and best price one. So in a country like Brazil and Argentina, Spain, this is a very interesting, easy product, you know. So we started with that. So we moved into Argentina, now Brazil. So now, and we're in Asia. So instead of being only in Europe and a little in America, we went and to the east and to the west from Europe, you know, which creates like this crazy jet lag because now I did in 4 weeks, Buenos Aires, Rio, Sao Paulo, then back to Bangkok and then back to Vegas. Yeah. But you can imagine the time difference is 15 hours. Yeah. So it's ridiculous. Him and me were struggling here now this time, you know, in Vegas, I think I slept 2 hours a day. Yeah. And then you're tired at 7 in the evening and you're awake at 11.
For you, it's a lot harder to come here and than it is to go back.
For the jet lag. Yeah, because if you arrive in LA or San Francisco, you go 9 hours back.
Right.
But that's from Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. That's not from Bangkok.
Right.
That's another 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And even
you understand?
Even then, before you worked in Africa a lot, so Africa is down. Yeah. So then the jet lag is minimal.
Well, most people know I'm from Africa original, but if you take South Africa or Congo, if from Amsterdam, it's a line straight down. It's the same time zone, yeah? So there's maybe 1 or 2 hour difference in some parts of Africa, but not a lot.
Right.
So that doesn't affect you. Bangkok is quite easy. It's 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. But San Francisco and LA is the worst, you know, especially coming down here and then getting into meetings, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So you arrive here, it's technically 9 in the evening and then it's 12 again, yeah? Mm-hmm. And then you have to work the whole day.
At least there's good food.
That's
good food. Yeah, the food helps.
But the food you have to be watched because you get lazy when you eat too much, no?
Yeah.
So, and as everybody know, I'm quite a big foodie as you.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the food. I had some great meals in San Francisco and in Las Vegas again. And like also in Sao Paulo and in Brazil and in you know, I don't have time to train. So that's the other problem, you know, you gain like 3, 4, 5 kilos every 4 weeks, you know, because no time to hit the gym or too tired to hit the gym. Sure. Or, you know, you do only half an hour instead of a proper 50 minutes. So yeah, this jet lag with our seed company and our fertilizer company, we have to fine tune this system, how we're going to do this, because this year was out of control.
Yeah.
And then I only limit myself to a few fairs, you know. Mm-hmm. We do Cannabis, we do Berlin. So Barcelona, Berlin, Bangkok, Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, Las Vegas. Yeah. And then here, because you invited us, we did Turkmenia this weekend, which was a great show. And then last night, the Ego Clash. But again, we are home at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know?
Right. Yeah. That's the industry for you in a nutshell.
Yeah. It's everybody think it's easy, but it's really, really hard work, you know.
I think the rock star lifestyle is a hard lifestyle. I don't think people give rock stars enough credit too, like the musician lifestyle. True. You know, they go on tour and they hit it. I mean, you guys are living that similar life right now.
Well, you know, we're good friends with a lot of rock stars. You probably saw the picture with Dua Lipa last week. If you see her travel thing, you know, it's like hard, you know?
Yeah.
And then every night she's nearly 2 hours on stage. She really works her ass off. One of the nicest people in the industry, by the way. And that's a rock star, you know? You see it with the DJs. But even a pilot of an airline, you know?
Oh, yeah.
That's horrible. I used to have a hashtag. I don't use it anymore. More miles than the pilot. And then Franco took it over, you know?
Sure.
But we have more miles than a pilot. We're just looking at my miles because you just upgrade. I had 650,000 miles.
Wow.
And this is just from a few months, you know, because I use them sometimes. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. And then every time you're almost about to go back, like now we fly back tomorrow, and now we're used to this schedule. Right. So every time you're used to it, and then you go back and you start from scratch.
You need 3-4 days, and mostly we are 5, 6, 7 days there.
Yeah.
So the moment you land, you screw it again.
Starting
all over again. Yeah.
But now the holiday's nearly there. We have 3 more days in Amsterdam. We have to do a lot of things, and then take the plug out.
So if you were to go back from the beginning and look at how it is right now, could have you imagined it how it is?
Yes, totally. But much earlier. When I started growing in 82, 83, when I was 16, 17, 18, it was very illegal in Holland. Still totally very legal, by the way. Nothing changed. I thought, you know what? And that was at my time there. I'm a great mushroom fan.
Yeah.
In my private life, I really like mushrooms. I do that a lot.
Same.
Also with my family, with my children, with everybody, my friends around me. I think it's one of the nicest things to do. I think it opens your mind. I think it makes you very smart. Mm-hmm. It gives you a lot of new vision on things, you know. Perspectives, that's the good word. My English is not so good, as you guys know, but so good perspective. So at that time, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to go in marijuana or I'm going to go in mushrooms. And I realized that mushrooms also have, for some people, negative effects because they take too much and then they can jump down over a bridge or do something stupid. Yeah. So I decided to go with marijuana. This is 82, 83. Then I opened my first shop in 87 with 2 partners, very small shop called Tutti Frutti on the Herengracht in Amsterdam. And they had no clue about business. Make a long story short, after 6 months, I stepped out and then they continued with it and they went broke. And then in 92, I started a real shop. So basically, 92, I opened Tolstraat. Well, you know the place, it's still there. And I started growing in 82, 10 years before. And the only reason I opened the shop is that I could not get rid of my weed anymore. And I was kind of the first sativa grower in Holland, you know. Wow. First of all, I was the first marijuana coffee shop in Amsterdam. So you have to see, if you're talking about 92, 90% of the menu was hashish, mainly Morocco, a little Afghanistan, a little India, you know, charas, and then 10% swag, like some Jamaican, some Nigerian, stuff like that, you know, like brickweed kind
really
of stuff.
Bad, yeah.
Bad, not good. Yeah, occasionally there was something nice there.
Some Thai stick.
Maybe
sometimes.
some Thai stick or some lamb's bread. If you were really lucky, you could get your hands on a kilo, yeah?
Wow.
But before that, I supplied Bulldog, you know, Henk, good friend of my family, and a few other coffee shops. And then I started growing this new stuff because I come from a grower's family. And my mom used to grow, we were living in Asia, she had 700 different orchid things. And my mom comes from a resistant family in the war, butter smugglers, you know, against the Nazi regime. And my grandmother was a butter smuggler and they were all doing that. And she was a little on the illegal side. I don't know if you know the normal orchid growth, but there's some black orchids that cost $25,000. And she was doing that kind of stuff, which intrigued me. She got very green fingers. My mom is still alive. She's nearly 90. Sometimes I post her garden. When it's in full flower, you don't know what you see. So I got the green fingers from her. But then I started growing these sativas in these hazes where I got my hands on. And I went back to the coffee shops and Arjan said, Arjan, we don't know what to do with this. So I gave 2 kilos for free. I was really young, you know. I was in my 20s. And I thought the owners were in charge of their shops and not the dealers. But then 2 months later, I came and I basically got my 2 kilos back. And they said, it's cat piss. The Dutch people don't like it. The tourists don't like it. Nobody's buying it. We only want skunk.
Wow.
And that was it, you know. I couldn't do nothing with it. But at the same time, I was a chef like you when you were young. This is how I grew up.
Right.
And I thought, man, this is so good, you know. And it's not only good for the taste, but also how it is, you know, like the workout, how you say that? You know? Like the mental high, you know, not like this couch log stoned, you know?
Right.
And I thought, why don't they like this, you know? So I started going on with it until my wife said, listen, if you're sure that this is really good, open your own shop. So we did that in 92. And the first 2 years the first year was a total drama. Make a long story short. Brendan Kennedy, the owner of the High Times at that time, the Kennedy family, they had like a consortium with 20 magazines. Mm-hmm. And he passed by in April, and I never forget this. And I had no clue, bro. I didn't know America. Never heard of High Times. And he said, listen, we're going to do Thanksgiving, which is your November, I think, no?
Yeah.
We're going to do a big competition. I'm going to get 500 or 1,000 people over, and we're all going to smoke this weed and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to do an election and blah, 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 you know. But nobody ever heard of High Times magazine. We didn't even discuss it with the other coffee shop owners. Everybody kind of forgot about it until 2 days before Thanksgiving. This guy calls me up. We're coming tomorrow, yeah? Fuck, there was 500 people in front of my door. I had no clue. This was even before Joa was with me, yeah?
Yeah.
So I called all my friends, you know, come and help. Luckily, I had my weed.
Yeah.
I had a few kilos of that sativa weed, you know? And I had master kush at that time, and some with not even a name. And they came and they would start smoking it. And with the first two Americans, I wish I see those guys back. They said, Arjan, we've never smoked something like this. This is so fucking good. And I knew I was on the right track, you know. And another guy came and another guy came. And it was all. And then suddenly the next 3-4 days, they were all sitting in my shop, you know. Like not in the other shops. You feel the vibe, you know, going with a cannabis cup. And I thought, okay, this is really good. And I'll make a long story short. At that time, Hank had his hotel, which he still has. Mm-hmm. And under there was the Buddha Club. I don't know if you remember that. Buddha
Lounge,
Disco.
Yeah.
What was
Buddha
that?
Lounge, yeah.
Buddha Lounge. And he gave the club to the guys, you know. He was also competing, of course. And then just don't forget, you see 5 cameras here, but there were 40. Like every television station of the world was there because it was the first illegal drugs cup, yeah?
Yeah.
So CNN, BBC, Japanese television, everybody was there. And all my competitors, we were all friends. And we're still friends. You know, I said, Arjan, we have to be careful. This is going to fire back in our face. This is not good for the industry. We're going to go to jail. You know, the staff shitting their pants, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you know, we have nothing to lose. We are illegal already anyway. You know, what can happen, you know?
Sure.
And then, I don't know who was the first year. We had some characters there with Steve Hager. I think one of the first few was with Gatwood Galbraith. He was running for governor of Kentucky. So there is an American comes with this big cowboy hood, you know, which we were not used to in Amsterdam. Sure. Because Amsterdam is very, very multicultural, you know. Like we're a mix from like everything. And I'll make a long story short, there were 6 prizes and I won 5 times the first prize, you know.
Yeah.
I went to the front and I picked up my prize and I did the camera from there. It went like this, you know.
Well, then you were on the cover of High Times shortly after that.
Then 95 and 99, I'm the only guy who hit the front cover of High Times 2 times, you know, and 3 times more with bud and flower and stuff like that, yeah. Sure. That was a great honor and helped my company a lot, our company. And from there on, we were already, of course, working with seeds. Then 95, we started the seed company. Yeah, and the rest is history, you know. You can see where we're standing now. We grew organically, so we never borrowed money. We never wanted to be listed. We had so many offers. We had so many private planes flying in. We had a few years ago, you remember the Canadians, like 2 private planes. We have the most crazy stories that we cannot even tell here, yeah?
Yeah.
But we said no to anyone. Even like in Thailand now, we're very private. We're a private family, very good friends of us. And we do it our way. And that's the only way. We don't want to be listed. We don't want to have investors. We just grow organically. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why our company is quite successful, very healthy, no debt, you know, and that's how we do it.
Well, yeah, and you've transitioned all over. You were you still are in Spain, in Barcelona. You were in the Basque Country as well for a while.
Yes.
And you were in the Congo.
Yes.
And, you know, you've been all over.
Yeah, what I like to do is I like to go to new emerging markets where I see options, and you know, so we made a lot of strain hunter movies, as you probably know. So one on my radar for a very, very long time was Congo. As you know, I grew up in Africa. Mm-hmm. My parents lived there nearly 40 years. And Congo was also on my radar. Look, you have Africa and then you have Congo. Right. We call it the deep sea. And it's a huge country. It's the size of Europe. And you heard a lot of problems about Congo. It's one of those countries that the West has totally raped. Yeah, the Americans, the Chinese, the Russians, everybody's fighting for the resources there, which gives it a really bad name, you know. You can see the diamond mine. Well, in my movie, you can see one of the diamond mines. I went in there. So our partner is the back nephew of the former president, Joseph Kabila, which father again was the president before and got shot. Then he took over as a 27-year-old. And 8 years ago, he had to, now it's Tsideki. So I had a contact through my South African contacts. He said, Arjan, we can get a letter and we can travel free through the country and we can shoot a movie. Mm-hmm. So, and I know, and as a matter of fact, we can still see that. We still have the growth there. We're still growing there. But if you're on the equator in that part, your seeds become twice as big if you grow them in full sunlight. So they look really nice. You know, they have a much better bag appeal. Mm-hmm. And I could do much more there. So after, make a long story short, after the movie we shot, last day we were sitting in the hotel in the Vleuve, and this whole group approached us, you know, it was quite funny. And I said, can we have a talk? Yeah, sure, this and that. we would like to grow in our country. Can you help us? I said, well, I think it's very illegal here, no? He said, yeah, but we can get an R&D license. We're connected to the president and we want to get this industry going like Canada and the United States. And can you help us out?
Yeah.
I said, well, if you guys give me a letter, I can grow here from the agriculture department or the justice minister or the Department of Health or whoever, we do it. And that's how we started. And it was great for seeds, because we built 50 well, you probably saw it on Instagram, no?
Oh, yeah.
We built 50 very primitive glass houses for 18 hours because you're on the equator, no? Mm-hmm. So we work with LED lights. Every 3 meters, we had a little LED light, to keep the photo period on 18 hours. And then we had 7 big valleys where we made hundreds of kilos of seeds there. Wow. So we learned a lot. And that's basically also where now the new base is coming from. So we did millions of plants in those valleys. So if you see now the new full gas, King's juice, lemon and orange, many of the strains, they originate from there. That's where we did the pre-breeding work until we finalized everything. Mostly some in Spain with dust and mostly in Thailand now.
Wow. So yeah, and you guys helped change policy in the Congo? I mean, it was more than just producing seeds.
Yeah, so what people don't know, because, there's a lot of talk about greenhouse and about us and what are we all doing and,
right.
We're at McDonald's and all this bullshit, So we have quite a strong core group. So from 95 to 2010, which is 15 years, we set up in Holland the Cannabis Retailers Association. I was the spokesman. By the way, now Joa is the spokesman the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So we had huge issues in Holland. And you have to understand how this all goes. It's quite a long story, but I'll try to explain it a little bit in a nutshell. Holland has had the dispensary model, the coffee shop model.
Right.
But we were on the scrutiny of the United Nations, especially France, Sweden, and America. It's really bad. You're violating international law. You have signed the convention of 1961 and 60. You cannot do this, blah, blah, blah. So we were under high pressure. So in 95, we decided to start the BCD, which I became the spokesman of, and some strong other guys, Hank from the Bulldog, and many of the big guys were in there. And we start fighting the system. It's the same time that I created the King of Cannabis. And nobody knows why I created that, but it was to create a king so celebrities can come from America and start helping advocate our case. And that really worked out because guys like Woody Harrelson and Bill Maher and all the big rappers, Be Real.
So many people.
Successful people.
Yeah,
successful people came to our shop
Yeah.
because there was a king suddenly, So it was a marketing strategic idea from me.
Still the best bobbleheads in the business.
And the best bobbleheads in the business.
Yeah, I still have my bobblehead.
Yeah. We have to make them again. We went through. Remind me later. I'll tell you how funny the story about the bobbleheads was because everyone was laughing about the bobbleheads.
Yeah, they're classic. I still have mine at the house.
But I somehow can confirm this story because he was witness of it. He arranged the story.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we start fighting the whole system and make a long story short, people like Debbie Goldsberry, Berkeley Patient Group, Steve D'Angelo, which I met last week with Harborside.
Yeah.
They were all coming to the Cannabis Cup, and we were promoting the Cannabis Cup. At that time, I wrote the book, How to Run a Dispensary. And then we were in politics. I spoke in the parliament a few times to make sure we have more leverage. I said, go back to America and start working your government. Yeah. And at one point, the Dutch government also saw, okay, America's getting legal now. We're going to go illegal. It's a little bit funny, Americans telling us to be illegal and themselves, of course, not on a federal level, but on the state level, were legalizing.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of our being involved. Just very recently, Joa beat the mayor of Amsterdam after they want to kick out the tourists again out of the center of Amsterdam because it's getting too busy.
Yeah.
And basically on his own, he took care of that job for 1 year. But the job was much bigger. So in 2004, I went back to the office and I said to the guys, listen, if we want to survive in the future and want to have a great brand, we should make sure that our message goes all over the world, and not only in Holland and America. So I came up with, we were called in because I was making King of Cannabis with my greenhouse logo. And the lawyers and the mayor of Amsterdam called me and said, listen, you are violating the laws of having a dispensary in Holland. So there's 5 laws. It's called AHOGJ. A, no advertisement, no hard drugs, no younger people, no deals under 5 grams, above 5 grams, and no disturbance in the street. That's kind of what you have to oblige to. The A of advertisement, I was kind of violating this set. Cannot do anything on YouTube anymore.
Too much greenhouse.
Too much greenhouse, Cannabis Cup, Hager, we're going wild. Yeah, and this is really, and they liked us because we were the spokesman, said, listen, we're not going to find you now, but stop.
Wow.
So I break my head, and then at one point I say, okay, I said to my lawyer at that time, I came with this. One night I just saw the light, I thought, okay, strain hunters, me and Franco. So I went to the office, let's go back to Africa. Let's start filming there, rough content, and let's see how everybody upset. We're going to get killed. We're going to get closed. We're going to go in prison. This is a really bad idea. But when everybody said that to me, I go the other way. Right. I think this is going to be a really great idea because they're already talking about it,
Yeah, for sure.
The lawyers didn't know what to do about it.
The lawyers didn't know what to do. And then later the mayor said, you really got us there because you changed the name. What can they do? Yeah, it's the same face, but it's not greenhouse,
Right.
It's me, strain hunter. So the first one with Malawi was a direct success. We had 10 million hits. And then National Geographic came, and then later Vice came with Shane and everybody. And the whole success about this strain hunter movie. But the message was to show how 200 people around the equator are depending on marijuana. Mm-hmm. So if you go to Africa, what many people don't understand where I'm from, is kids cannot go to school because they have to guard the cattle. So a poor African family would have 3 fields. One cornfield, or they call it millie. So that's the food for the cow, and they have maybe 1 cow and 2 goats. They have a vegetable field to eat themselves. And they have a marijuana field to make a little money to survive. And that's where the danger comes. If they're going to take that away, but legalization, also those families have a problem. So I wanted to show that. And sometimes things start going as a roller coaster, like I made Malawi, and then I don't know how many more we made. But look at where we went. St. Vincent, you are there now.
Yeah, I'm there now, yeah.
So I went there in 2012 because I already knew that the volcano mountain of St. Vincent supplies the whole Caribbean. Weed is not coming from Jamaica. Weed is not coming from Florida. Yeah. Weed is not coming from Colombia. It's coming from St. Vincent with the scarabs. Those guys are all in my movie, yeah? And in my private life, I travel a lot. So I met all those guys. I thought, okay, I'm going to film that. Within 3 months after we put that film out, yeah, the prime minister of Vincent, or the president, I don't remember, went on national television. You can Google it on BBC. Say, okay, the strain hunters were here. We're going to take their advice. We're not going to lock up people anymore for less than an ounce. Yeah. Or for more, They can, if you're a tourist, you can come smoke on our beaches. So this is the kind of awareness we wanted to create with those movies, Mm-hmm. So bring something extra to the table where we can help the community worldwide, not only in our local Humboldt area or San Francisco area or Amsterdam area or Bangkok, no, like a broader vision where politicians are standing up, say, okay, this is reasonable.
On a global scale.
On a global scale. We did Morocco, legalizing now. We did Colombia, legalizing now. We did Thailand. We did Swaziland. Mm-hmm. We did South Africa. We did Congo. Yeah. We changed, because there was your question, we changed the constitution of Congo. It took us 5 years. Yeah. But it went through all the parliament. We spent more than $300,000 from our own money to change the constitution. And now other people have the license there. And we don't mind.
Yeah.
And what Arjan said is like what people don't see, because sometimes they see us in a certain way. They don't see the path that is before legalization, right? So what Arjan says in Congo, to change the constitution, what it took was when we started there, cannabis was in the constitution as the devil's herb, the devil's herb. So it's not like you start legalization in America where there is a cannabis culture already. You start from zero. No, we started at minus 400, So, and then to legalize. And then in 2017, for example, our team went to Thailand. We're in Thailand since 2017 already. Our science guy gave seminars, to educate and inform the people. And then when they said, "Hey guys, there's a chance, in Thailand it's gonna go in the right direction," we were busy with other things. I don't remember what, but we said, "Okay, you went to prison for your life if you were caught with cannabis." So we said, "Okay, you guys go ahead. It's never gonna happen in Thailand." And then at some point, they made the switch. But what a lot of people don't see is they only see, of course, what they see on Instagram and on online and everything, but they don't see the process before.
They don't see all the hard days and nights.
Exactly.
The journey,
and
all
even
the stuff
now,
that takes it. Yeah,
even now, as we speak, the people see what is happening. They see Thailand, they see Africa, but now we're also talking with other countries around because Thailand is the first one in Asia. But you can understand that the countries around are watching.
Yeah.
They're looking, observing what's going on. So they send delegations to Thailand. We speak with the government.
Right.
Also in Thailand, they started the legalization completely, basically opposite as Canada and Germany. Over there, they started with, in Canada with a big book of regulation, right? There's so many rules and made the product very expensive. In Thailand, they did the opposite. They said, it's legal from now on. So you say, okay, what's the legal framework?
Right.
There's no legal framework. It's legal now, So they started with zero.
It was like black or white. Yeah.
And now we're writing the book. So the most asked question to us is, how's it going in Thailand? I hear it's going to go backward. No, it's not backward. It's the dance, It's the dance, how we're going to regulate. So we started with zero. And now we're writing the book, Now we're making the regulations.
Progress.
Which
It goes
is much
up,
better.
it goes down. Yeah.
And it doesn't make it easy because, again, on Instagram, everything's always nice, parties and
well, Instagram is part of the problem with cannabis right now. I feel like people are so excited about the way stuff looks that it's gone away from how does it make you feel? How does it taste?
Also,
right?
yeah, definitely.
So,
yeah.
Well, if you look at Thailand, it's a good example he gives.
Yeah.
Like Thailand legalized 2 years ago in June 2022. In 2018, we got the phone call. Can you come and advise at the university? There will be some politicians and everything.
Yeah.
And Heiko, who's the guy who is behind all these papers and everything, our partner, I said to him, don't go. And Heiko is from Thailand. He had a house in Koh Samui, so he knows Thailand really well. He said, Arjan, let me go. I said, listen, we're going to spend $50,000 on a pitch. We have to take 2 professors, a doctor, follow up before airplane tickets, hotels. I'm not going. Never, ever, it will be legal in Asia. That was my idea.
Yeah.
I was so wrong. So in the end, he convinced me to go. I said, okay, you go, you spend half the money, you take 1 guy and 1 doctor and you go do your thing, yeah? And he went, he said it was great. I said, what's the only advice you give them there? I said, don't make the mistakes we made in Holland, in Canada, and in the United States. With all your bloody regulations,
Over-regulation.
Over-regulation,
Right.
over-taxation.
We can talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So I told them one thing, don't make that mistake. In 2022, they called me.
Yeah.
You can see, by the way, in my Thai movie that we launched in February, the deputy prime minister is in the movie. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine a deputy prime minister or prime minister of any Western country in a pot movie?
Never.
There they came because I promised them 80 million tourists by 2030 and they're going to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went already this year to 35 million and next year we go 40 million, then we go 50 million. Yeah. As long as we're all on board in Thailand, we're going to try to get to F1 now in Thailand, in Bangkok. We're trying to legalize gambling maybe, and there's more things going to happen. Yeah. So in 2022, they called us and they said, we're going to do it. I said, what are you going to do? We're going to legalize. Totally. I said, what do you mean? Recreational and medicinal. We're going to just let it go. It's kind of medicinal and we'll see what happens. And this is where we're standing now,
Yeah.
So, and this is one of the things that we as a team bring to the table, So if there's 2 other Asian countries we're speaking right now, we just had the 2 sons of one president of an Asian country flying into Holland. The Secret Service comes, they put fucking tape on the cameras and then we speak, This is how it really goes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Laos just legalized medicinal cannabis, so the neighboring country of Thailand.
Amazing.
And we are really proud of that,
Japan?
Because Japan next year, 25.
Yeah. Wow.
Medical.
Yeah. So we're talking to the main guys there. We're advising.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we are a very good friend of us. Some few Japanese billionaires are behind that push. Tokyo University, and it's going to happen. It's going to go slow in Japan because it's quite a conservative country. But it's a beginning.
And every step helps, also. Like now in Germany also, it's limited. It's with a lot of restrictions, but it's a big step because it's the biggest country in Europe.
And what about Middle East, If technically, I'm quite in shock when I land in San Francisco and LA and in New York and I see the airports, Same a little bit in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
But you go to Abu Dhabi or Dubai or Singapore or Hong Kong, you come in a new world.
Yeah.
They're way ahead, And in 9 January this year, UAE, so Dubai and Abu Dhabi, the punishment for smoking went from 30 years to 3 months. That's the first big step.
That's a huge step.
That's a huge step.
Yeah.
And nobody realizes this, but Heiko's been working very extensive with the government there for the last 3 years, maybe.
Yeah.
It's difficult because, they have all kinds of issues, there in Middle East. Like in the Middle East, like the Emirates is like every religious group, I'm not allowed to say the names, every other group, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
They'll all say, okay, this stays out of the conflict zone.
Mm-hmm.
This is where our wives and our kids go to school. This is where we have the holidays. And this is where we kind of try to figure out solutions.
Yeah.
So this is the place where we then also can talk, and see, okay, how far can we go? So just to give you an example, there's a few big party areas from Ibiza that are now going to open in Dubai. Like, for example, Ushuaia.
Yeah.
But there's other groups that I know really well that are not going, that are also invited by the bosses. And then the conversation goes like, why are you turning down so much money doing the party here in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi? Because my people can't use drugs. So we're not coming.
Interesting.
So, okay, well, and then the sons of the bosses say, okay, well, we'll be working on that. So this is where we are standing now in the real world, like, okay, who's making the next move? Brazil.
Yeah.
Very recently, you can have 6 plants now. Yeah, I came from a fair, there was 30,000 people. I think I did 10,000 autographs. So Brazil, Argentina, Germany, Thailand, you see the movement going, where we are involved.
The momentum.
Yeah. And then you see our countries, like I see your bloody president, Joe Biden, pardoning in 2 bloody turkeys.
He's only president for another month.
Okay, but he pardoned his son.
He did.
And 2 turkeys.
Yeah.
And what about those 20,000 innocent people sitting for cannabis in jail?
It's
Thailand,
2022,
released on the same day 7,000 prisoners that were convicted for cannabis.
Yeah.
On the same day, 7,000 people out of prison.
Which is the way it should be.
And not a single problem with one of them.
And gave out how many clones? Was 1 million, no?
Oh yeah, and 1 million clones.
1 million clones. They gave out 1 million clones. Which is more a symbolic thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's still, it's pretty
Just
cool.
The act of giving, it's very symbolic. I think that's amazing.
Don't think there's many presidents in the world that would do that.
No, it's not happening.
1 million clones.
It's not happening here. No, it's not happening in the US.
Maybe Trump will do it, just.
You never know. You never know what's going to happen in the next 4 years. I mean,
Well, if Trump gives them out, at least they're biggest, the best, the most awesome clones that you'll ever see. The best clones in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just never know what's going to happen. I think a lot of people are scared and a lot of people are excited about what could happen. I think we've been going in the wrong trajectory for the last 4 years. And for more than the last 4 years. It's been, it's been a long time.
It's a long time. But let's see now your American government. If I look around Trump now, Trump is the only one who doesn't drink and doesn't smoke, but the rest does. Mm-hmm. If it's Joe Rogan or it's Elon Musk or whoever it is, they're all smokers.
Yeah.
So let's see how this will influence him, and what kind of decisions would be made. Look, it can't go any worse.
No, it can't go any worse. And I think the potential is really good for change, right? It's going to change one way or the other.
Yeah,
that's the only thing constant is change anyway.
Yeah.
But we need change. We need change. I mean, the economy is in a bad place. And then federal legalization. It's silly that we don't have federal legalization for cannabis. It's on a federal level, yet we have more than half of the United States in support of cannabis. We have more than half of the United States that's medical. It seems to me that we need to look at ourselves in the mirror a little bit differently. And I think the younger generation is getting older now and they are starting to get into politics. And that's going to be the big change. So in the next 10 years, it's definitely going to change.
I don't know. Look, our problem is a big problem, yeah?
Yeah.
We have 5 enemies. We have pharma as an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
We have tobacco as an enemy. We have alcohol as an enemy. And we have the religious people as an enemy.
Yeah.
4. I probably forgot 1.
Maybe a big ag.
Yeah. Then our governments now, if you look at Japan or Asia, you look at Europe and you look at America. 5%, 4% obesitas in Asia, 25% in Europe, 60% in America.
Yeah.
Our politicians are killing us because they are responsible for this huge problem in America with fentanyl and with wrong food. Yeah. Most of the food you guys are eating is illegal in Europe or in Asia.
In most countries.
In
outside
most
the-
countries. Yeah. A lot of these additives and all that kind of stuff you saw.
Yeah.
So if you just take it from there, if the politicians are already willing to kill their own people, they don't give a shit about cannabis.
Right.
Yeah. So here is a huge problem for us. Yeah.
Mhm.
If our politicians are not taking responsibility to ban certain foods and certain chemicals
Yeah.
that are used, why should they worry about marijuana?
Mhm.
This is the biggest problem.
Right.
I think, So we are killing our own population and we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Well, and I mean, you guys can both agree with me that cannabis makes the world a better place. And so looking at it any other way, it's like there's not people like alcohol and tobacco are way worse, right?
Mhm.
No matter how you look at it, you look at the statistics. Statistically, it's a lot worse. There's more
Yeah.
deaths from alcohol and tobacco across the board, yet cannabis is still illegal.
Mhm. But
So-
cannabis will always have that stigma, but it can change really quickly. You see that, for example.
I don't think it had the stigma 200 years ago, and I don't think 100 years from now it's going to have the same.
No, but
stigma.
here is different.
No, it
Here's
was made
much-
by Reefer Madness.
No,
Yes.
but
In
and
the
here is
30s.
much more accepted, and it's changed also with the kind of legalization. Even if it's on the state level. But
Right.
in Thailand, for example, you see it as well. Like 2 years ago or 4 years ago, of course, it's not. I mean, you can't even roll up a joint in public now.
Yeah.
If you go to a Michelin star rooftop restaurant, for example, you say, "Oh, can we smoke here?" Yeah, of course you can smoke. You go to the smoke area, you roll a joint, and
Yeah.
other people will ask you, "What are you smoking?" And they're interested in it and
Mm-hmm.
everything. In Holland, you cannot even imagine that. If
No,
you
they
roll up
outlawed
a
it on
joint,
the streets, right? Now you can't even smoke on the
you
streets
can't
anymore.
smoke in the streets, no. But cannabis there is pushed. Like last week, I was giving an interview on television because there was an 8-page letter from the mayor about the center of the city, and there's one sentence on coffee shops, and the media pick it out, and they talk about coffee shops. I said, we have such big problems in this neighborhood,
Yeah.
robberies, gang wars, drug abuse, and you pick out this one sentence. There's much bigger problems, but they keep always going back to the.
They want to
cannabis.
blame it on the
And
cannabis.
sometimes
yeah.
even I'm in Thailand and we speak with the minister. I go on television in Thailand, speak about the policy. I fly back to Amsterdam. I go to the council to speak about not smoking a joint in public. The contrast is sometimes so big. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'm born and raised in Amsterdam and I'm proud of the city. But sometimes nowadays I'm even a little bit embarrassed of this situation, when
Right.
people say, oh, you can't smoke in Amsterdam anymore. No, it's just on the street in certain areas. But they're pushing it in a certain direction.
Well, they've cut down on the coffee shops too, because there was a lot of coffee
we went
shops when I
from
first started.
400
going.
to 165.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't want to cut even more back. And
Yeah.
the whole thing with tourists now, okay, all the tourists are coming for the coffee shop, which is totally bullshit, of course.
Right.
Yeah. And in the center, and in the center they say, oh, it's so big. But in the red light area, there's 12 coffee shops left.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even the local people that are against that, they say, yeah, the Warmoestraat, which is a famous street, they used to have 20. There's 0. And they still think there are 20 there. And they live around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And then the mayor and the mayor is sitting there in council. Yeah, so we're going to ban the tourists from the coffee shops. But then the most political parties that are smart enough to live there too. Yeah, so we're going to get a lot of street dealers now.
Yeah.
And guess what? Heroin and crack is back at the
No.
central station in Amsterdam
Wow.
for the first time in bloody 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's no cops. So not only we don't have housing, we don't have nurses, we don't have doctors. Schools in Amsterdam are going to 4 days because we don't have enough teachers.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
No, but you know what Arjan says, this information the council gets, they don't get it from anywhere but from us, us
Right.
as a community. I'm not talking about us in general. So even the people watching, if you want to help legalization, if you want to help normalizing cannabis, you have to speak with your local politicians, because there's a dance always, there's new people coming in and out. If there's new people coming in the council, I go there because literally they don't know the difference between hash and weed. So if you don't know the difference, how can you make a policy about cannabis? You cannot, because you don't know what you are, what you base your opinion on.
And then you're influenced by the people around you
Exactly.
that like
so
it or
don't
don't like it.
underestimate that. And if people are in councils or like municipalities where it's still a little bit, gray area or whatever, and you want to change, go out and talk with the people. If I'm not in Amsterdam and there's something in the media, I call around. Nobody wants to go on television. I was like, guys, come on, man. Go with your, tell your story, because people need to know. And I also tell people outside of the business. So people who produce glass houses and put them in Canada and in America, Dutch companies that are super successful in cannabis. Please help me say this message. And then sometimes they do. And that's helpful, but people need to get the message across. That's why we do always podcasts. We do seminars. Yeah. If they invite us in Canada for a seminar, we go, a TED Talk. We do everything to always keep talking and informing, educating.
Right. And he's much more diplomaticer than me. Yeah. So most of the time I let him do it because I hate them. I can't handle them. Because I tell them straight in the face, your government is responsible for losing 100 billion of economic prosperity in the last 5 years and the coming 5 years. Mm-hmm. You killed the glasshouse industry. Yeah. You killed the light industry. Gavita was a Dutch company.
It was.
They sold it for $240 million to Hawthorne, friends of mine, all. Yeah. But they were scared. Yeah. Why are you selling such a viable, good companies from Holland, Nutrient companies, all sold. They killed it in Holland, yeah? It's the future, One of the best things, biggest things is going to be bigger than porno and alcohol. Yeah. Smoking marijuana, it's bigger. Right. You kill it. Why are you killing the baby? Yeah. And I'm just telling that, and it's amazing. They have no clue, only because of their own political agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every politician is sitting there because of his own private agenda. There's not a politician sitting there like a Gandhi or a Nelson Mandela. That's there for everybody in the community. Yeah. It's always like it's a Donald Trump or it's a Joe Biden with an agenda.
Right.
Yeah. But is Joe Biden there for us? No. Is Donald Trump there for us? No. Is the Dutch prime minister there for us? No.
It's very tough to be a politician. It's something that not a lot of people want to do, I'm sure. Mm. It's like me. I'm not, I have no interest in politics. Yeah. But so as far as you guys are now in Thailand, and you are very vertically integrated. You're one of the most vertically integrated companies in the world. You guys go from not only seed to sale, but you grow your own that you sell at your own dispensaries. Plus, you're also moving into GMP international export.
Yeah.
So how is that going?
Well, look, we're in Holland, and we also have been in Holland, and there we are very, very limited, Yep. Since 2002, I'm not able to go to one grow room. If I'm being caught in a grow room, they take away all our license. Yep. So we can never control our menu. So sometimes people bitch about our menu. Some stuff is not the best because, but we are depending on a very illegal market. You get caught with a little grow room, you go straight 4 years to prison. Yeah? No discussion. So it's very, very difficult. So our dream was to be vertically integrated somewhere where we can really show all our skills. Like we make great seeds. Yeah. But if you cannot show the flower, it's really bad, Mm-hmm. So in Thailand, we have the option now. We grow poly wheat or glasshouse wheat. We call it premium glasshouse. We grow indoor wheat. We grow even GMP wheat. We grow outdoor. And from all those products, we can make dry sift. We can make rosin. We can make bubble hash. So basically from one variety, you have 5 different things, which is really, really nice. Yeah. And now in our 6 dispensaries, that we have 5 in Bangkok and 1 in Koh Samui, people can come there and they can have the whole experience. You want to have rosin, you want to have this, you want to have that. It's all there. So that was part of our dream, to have that vertically integrated to the max. And we are in Northeast Thailand. You can probably compare the climate a little bit to North Cal, end of the season. Wow. We get our humidity in the glasshouses down to 35%, which is great. Sure. The night and the day temperature is great, especially between August and March. So we can make there a great product. So the next step to us, which was always our step, is to make sure that your mom and my mom can have it in a pharmacy in a country where you cannot have it recreational, where you have to go on the street. Like England, Germany a little bit, Australia. Yeah. So probably somewhere next year, we will have our product on the shelves there for a very reasonable price. So there you can obtain our great lemon orange or full gas or super lemonade or nori cake or king's kush. Yeah. So that's the vertically integrated dream, but then 3.0. Yeah. Because now it's also GMP and we can make sure it's on the shelves. And we are ourselves GMP. It's not like that somebody else has to do the back door or the front door where it's GMP packed and whatever, we do that in our own house. Yeah. So that's great. So this is the next and actually final step of my dream, to be like in different countries, like a normal business.
Yeah.
Like just, it's pharma technically,
Sure.
but it's still weed, you know, it's a great product. And we can make sure that your grandmother and my grandmother and whoever can obtain that product in a safe way for a very reasonable price.
Well, it's beautiful because it's somewhere between pharma and ag. You know, I feel
Yeah.
like it's not an absolute pharma product, but it's not an absolute ag product either. It's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, look, technically it's totally ag because we grow ag.
Sure.
You know, it's a glass house or it's indoor, you know.
Yeah.
It's only the GMP part. So basically post-harvest, you know, the packaging.
Right.
You know, it's just to understand, you know, Heiko, and I do the recreational part. He has to do that part.
Right.
Just the SOPs is 1 meter 40 paper.
Oh, yeah.
Paperwork, yeah.
Paperwork.
All the CGMP paperwork.
Bro,
Yeah.
All the SOPs.
It's horrible.
EU GMP is wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we are German EU
Yeah.
GMP, you know, so that's the highest standard in the world because you have American GMP, you have Dutch GMP,
Yep.
you have Israeli GMP, you have Thai GMP,
yeah.
but the German one is the one most recognized.
Yeah.
So also the audit happens from Germany, so the group flies in and audits our factory,
Interesting.
and then from there we can. So we are now 18 months in the process. So we just started there in 2022. We did a huge Pheno hunt, probably the biggest ever, with 147,000 plants.
Yeah.
And we can speak a little bit about that later. And from there on, I think mid of next year, we will be in the shelves in Australia and in the UK or Germany. Let's see how it goes.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a dream. It's really a dream. I still cannot believe it. So we don't speak too much about it, you know, because we want to see it happening, you know.
Right.
I don't like to talk about things that didn't happen yet.
Sure.
But yeah, everybody sees us on the radar, and yeah, we can't hide it anymore. We've actually 20 to 23. We opened the first club June 23.
Yeah.
Wanshan.
Yeah.
The first year, me and Dus were like with our caps, you know, on the
26 May.
airport, you know, people seeing us. What are you guys doing here, you know?
Right.
Because we want to have this little advantage because we are refitting the factory that we took over in the north and adding the GMP part. So now, yeah, you know, now we are out in the opening and people are seeing it, you know. So we came out with it and it's happening.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, really impressive. So I wanted to go through some of the Pheno hunt stuff. So we went through 560 different plants, or we went through a part of 560
timing.
different plants. 420.
420, exactly.
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
It's 420.
So yeah,
Let's
it's
start
to light up, bro.
all right, here we go.
Jesus. Is that on purpose or is that a
No,
coincidence?
that was just magic, right?
Yeah,
there.
magic,
That's
right?
just
Well,
magic.
I have a sense for it.
So this is the first time smoking this cross.
Which one is this?
This is our drips.
Oh, I like that one. It's the one I picked, yeah. What cross is that?
Extremely special.
No.
We
Oh,
got-
give me
we
some
got- I
seeds
feel like
of
there's
this.
several different expressions within the progeny. Out of all the seeds we popped, there's I wouldn't say there's super consistency, but there is with there's maybe 4 or 5 different phenotypes that really stand out.
in this
is
one.
in that one, and I think that's one of them for sure.
So we have to do a little bit more selection on them.
Yeah, I think there could be more selection. I mean, this one's really good. The one that we picked, I feel like that was the one that had the best nose and the best structure.
How many seeds you had out of this one?
We popped 40 of those, so we have 40
5
different.
phenos in there.
Yeah,
And this is the one pheno.
I think but see within that there's a couple different ones that like that's the nose. There's the nose, and then there's the structure, and then
So you
finding them
should cross those two again.
exactly. The bud structure's nice.
Yeah.
It's not completely closed as far as
No.
the bracts or completely open. It's got good structure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the flavor's nice.
There's garlics in it.
I'm really liking the flush that we use on this too.
What do you flush? 10 days?
We flushed 8 days in cocoa. So
8 days.
7 or 8 days, and 8 was perfect this time.
Mm.
Well, yeah, it's typical. And it's tough with the Pheno hunt because you have stuff that finishes at different times, right? So we have stuff that pull at day 53, and then we have
Flush
stuff
by
that
hand, no? All the plants.
we hand water our entire flush.
Yeah. We
So-
hand water our entire grow.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's a little crazy. I like irrigation, except for the flush. I feel like we basically want to run it through each plant, and we just do once a day because we do pulse feeding normally with cocoa. So we multiple times a day. We feed like 16 times a day.
You
and
feed 16 times a day.
16 times
Holy
a day.
shit.
Yeah,
That's like every 50 minutes, 40 minutes or what?
50 minutes. I think every 50 minutes we're feeding on this one anyway. We've experimented. So what we do is we do trials here. I mean, we're a research and development facility, so we'll try different things to get optimal results. And I feel like we got pretty good results with this. And then with the flush, we hand water and we make sure to get it flushed through. And it's too thick to run through the lines anyway. There's so much molasses in it that you could never get that through.
For your drip system.
Nah, not through the irrigation at all.
It's going to clog up then.
Yeah. But flavor-wise, I think...
Smooth.
It's smooth. I expected a little bit more of the flavor from the smell I have to say.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. It could be even coming down here. It's not quite as terpy as the flower.
No.
Yeah.
But that's why we're pheno hunting. So looking for those winners.
Yeah.
So in Thailand, you guys are doing huge pheno hunts. How do you go through that many plants? Obviously, you can't smoke every single one of them.
No. So we have 32 flowering glass houses. Everyone fits 1,550 plants. So we try to limit it to 1 or 2 varieties.
Yeah.
So we put out 1,500 plants, so 1,500 seeds.
Yeah.
So that makes it already a little bit easier, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So from there on, we pull out the 10 best, grow them another time, and then also grow them indoor.
Yeah.
And then we keep 5.
Nice.
Yeah. So because we saw in the past that sometimes in the, let's say, 3rd or 4th crop, some hermie pops up suddenly.
Yeah.
That can happen. That
we've
your
seen
first
that
2
as
crops,
well.
nothing happened.
Yeah, it's fine. And then sexual stability and it's whatever that the intersex trait stabilizes.
Maybe it's a different time of the year. Maybe it's more hot in the room. I don't know what. But something happens, and sometimes that happens. Doesn't happen a lot, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And then also for sharing clones, you know, we give number 3 or number 4 away, whatever.
Yeah.
And then number 1 and 2 we keep in our library, you know. And then number 1 we make the weed for the dispensary.
Right.
So that's kind of how we work. And then also with the number 1 or 2 or 3, depend on the whatever we kept it for, we do the breeding, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or we cross them 2, or we self 1 as 1, you know. It depends a lot on many things.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how we work. We would try to put a minimum of 200 seeds out.
Yeah.
But preferable 1,000, 1,500.
Yeah, for me, it's how well I know the line. If there's stuff where I know I'm looking for something specific that I know I can find it in 50 or 40.
Sure.
You know, and then also I'm working in numbers. I'm limited with the amount of space that I have too.
Yeah.
So my model's a little bit different. And
Yeah.
I might pop 10 of something and not find anything that's worth revisiting. But sometimes I'll just pop 10 to see if it's even worth exploring more. Because some of these crosses that we're making, it's like they have a lot of recessive traits and you're looking for the recessive traits. And sometimes even within the progeny, you don't get any expression of really what you're looking for. So
no, but you understand America much better than me. But that's also a little bit the bad luck you guys have that you're limited to space, no?
Right.
And you see that with all the breeders, and most of the grows are spreadsheet grows here in America.
Yeah.
So you have to turn over whatever 60 grams a feet. Otherwise, the investors get really angry. So you don't have the options. And you know, also in ag, technically, find something new like salad and corn. They do 10,000 seeds. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So,
but they don't have near the diversity that we have in cannabis.
No, that's true. No, but that even says we should even put more.
Yeah, that makes it more difficult.
You know what I mean? Like
to find something new.
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough to find something new. And we were going through a lot of stuff where we kept saying, oh man, this reminds me of this, or this reminds me of this stuff that's, 20 years old.
Yeah.
So, we had the purple Urkel crosses. And then even with the RS11 crosses, it has this interesting structure that reminds me of like the Calio or some of these old orange varieties.
Yeah. But it was nice to see at Turpnami in the weekend also that a lot of the hazes are back, That was the best thing ever. That was new stuff with that.
I've never seen hazes in California.
No,
5 guys came to me with 3 of them with my Pheno Super Silver has one with Hawaiian Snow.
And really nice.
So where do we grow this from? Yeah, Arjan, I know Hawaiian Snow.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, shit, you know your thing, yeah?
Yeah.
That's funny to hear.
So we've progressed in a lot of ways in California. And this is, a lot of the guys were coming from Humboldt and Mendocino from the hills, right?
Yeah.
So like those guys are coming down with these equatorial and sativa crosses, hazes.
Yesterday.
It was amazing.
On the Ego Clash, there were a lot of those guys.
Even more, I'm sure, because it's local.
The thing is that everything has to be 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
Where really good weed is 10-11 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of varieties, you know.
15,
There's so
16
many
weeks.
amazing. I agree. There's so many
Turbinami.
amazing stuff. Dave from Budgelera that had the pearls that was at Turbinami. He's on the podcast recently, but he only does longer flowering varieties, and he's breeding for effect. Right at the end of the day, more so than anything, he's breeding for the effect, and the effect of those is so different than the stuff that 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the stuff that's
we
like
saw the Dr. Greenspoon strain.
oh yeah,
It was a pheno, a different pheno of that. I think that is even longer.
right.
You know, he's like one of the few guys that wants to grow that. Actually,
Not a lot of people have
Commercially,
the
it's not
time.
very
You-
attractive to
No,
grow.
it's spreadsheets.
Yeah.
It's people are under scrutiny of Wall Street guys.
Yeah.
They have this big facility. There are 17 owners, and they demand 70 grams
Yeah.
in 7 weeks.
Right.
They have 6 crops, whatever. You know, this is the main problem, which kills the industry. You know, I think anyway, listed companies kill the industry.
Right.
You know, I don't see any really good things coming out of there. If you look at Canada,
Yeah.
2018 to 2024, and as you know, we were partners with Canopy.
Right.
You know how many money got blown up?
A lot.
What do you guess? 6 years, Canada. How many money went into stock market?
How
that
many
blew
hundreds of millions?
Big money.
770 billion Canadian dollars,
Wow.
which let's say 500 US,
500 billion US
roughly
dollars.
500 billion just evaporated.
Yeah.
And people losing 200-300 million per quarter.
Yeah.
How in the hell is this possible, guys?
Well, they were just talking about Jay-Z and his brand, how it lost a whole bunch of
He
money.
was in our
Yeah.
shop
Yeah.
last year, and I told him, "Say, it's not the way to do things, bro.
Yeah.
Get a guy like me.
Yeah.
No,
Let
but
me
there's
run the
no
show.
Yeah, there's no passion for
Well,
the cannabis though. In the
No, and
with the
they're not
listed
into
companies.
craft.
No,
they don't
they're not
understand the
into
craft model. And so, we both have experience in as far as you had Heineken, I have Lagunitas. I used to work with Lagunitas, and they created a craft product from the beginning with the intention to scale.
Yeah.
And to the scale to the point where they sold it to Heineken for $1 billion, half
Yeah.
a billion originally, and then I think 3 years
880
later,
million.
yeah, 880 million.
We were involved a little bit.
Yeah.
Our friend did the deal.
Yep.
And then it came in the newspapers in Holland, and then Heineken CEO said, "Oh, we didn't know it was CBD brand."
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You pay $1 billion, you don't know your
THC
shit,
drink.
bro.
Yeah.
You should
Yeah,
fucking
THC
resign
drink,
immediately
yeah.
then, no?
Totally.
Yeah, they
And
did know the high hops.
Man, that was such a joke, bro.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
But-
by the way, I think Lagunitas is a great brand.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really
Yeah.
like that beer. It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
IPAs to drink.
Yeah, we
Great
visited
people,
them,
great
though.
beer.
They
Yeah,
did
it
a
was-
fucking great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Heineken, it was just a bunch of idiots. And that is the corporate thing that is against us, you know?
Yeah, right.
Because you want to hear a really funny thing. I'm not going to say it was Heineken, yeah?
Yeah.
So let's say it was a very big Dutch beer brewer, one of the biggest. There's a few of them. And suddenly in 98, 99, one of the reasons we had to start the Cannabis Retailers Association,
Yeah.
in Parliament, questions were asked about the mix of alcohol and cannabis in our shops. You remember, we had
Sure.
So we had 5 dispensaries in Amsterdam
Yeah.
with alcohol, 20%. It was only 40 in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So we had 20% of the licenses in the country. And suddenly in Parliament, Christian parties were popping up. We want to discuss this. Poly-drug use. What the fuck? Poly-drug use, so multiple drugs.
Yeah.
Cannabis and alcohol.
Yeah.
This is a really bad thing.
We call it crossfading. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Make a long
really
story
bad.
short, this started in 2000 and we lost everything in 2007.
Yeah.
It turned out really great for us. I'm not going to go into details
Sure.
because we were making much more money when the alcohol was out. So we were panicking, and then it was much better in the end of the day for us.
Mhm.
Yeah. And later in 2016 or 17, I was on a party.
Yeah.
And one of the main guys from this brewery came to me and said, "Arjan, we figured out that in a dispensary, there's 70% less consuming of alcohol. So the only way to drink healthy way alcohol is to also smoke. Because if you're with your friends, you drink 8 or 10 beers and you have a great night.
Yeah.
If you smoke 1 joint, you're only going to drink 3.
Correct.
So it is the best combination in the world. It's the opposite what the Christian parties
Mhm.
made us do in Holland. Ban a really good idea.
For me, it's only good if I smoke before I drink. If I've been drinking and then you smoke, it's all bad. But as long as you do it first, it's the best
I
way
don't
to
have
go.
that problem. I can do both.
It
but-
didn't
Yeah,
the
yeah,
alcohol
yeah.
use go less than the marijuana use increased and over alcohol use, I think, in America.
definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
In America, it's so far. Well, I remember already when I was with Erich on a party 6-7 years ago, that I walked into parties, there was no alcohol. There was one guy drinking a bottle of red wine, and everybody was smoking. And there was a Nobel Prize winner there. There's a professor from university. You know, it's changing. But it's funny, no? That the political party, who is a Christian party, so they have another agenda, and raising this in parliament, making it happen that we lose all our license. And then at the end of the day, it's a really bad decision they made, because it's much healthier to drink and smoke at the same time.
Right.
Which one is this? Or
this is our double lemon cherry. This is the breeder. This is the one that I really like. It's like a lemon cherry gelato. It's a Runts S1.
Yeah.
But it's a really good yielder, and it has really high terps. And so that combination that has the structure, it's rare.
Yeah.
And it definitely passes on the structure with the terps to a lot of the things we breed it to.
And if I can ask you, what are you looking for? You're looking for more terps or higher THC? What do you look for? Also commercially.
We look for stuff. I mean, I think commercial viability is super important these days.
Of course, yeah.
But at the end of the day, I went back to the drawing board after 420 when my friend died. He used to only breed for effect.
He still is totally right. If you're a craft brand like we are and you are, of course, everything is high THC. People want 28, 32, yeah? But your 33 here in America is not a real 33. I think maximum.
No, it's like a 25.
Is our 25. And our 23 sativas get you more high than the 32 American couch lock one.
Right.
You know, because of the flavanols, of the terpene profile. Yeah. There's a reason to explain that. But the sativas that are early 20s are by far stoners higher than the 30s in America.
The effect is much stronger.
Yeah.
Longer,
and so
longer also. Like
longer,
more consistent.
the
like
longer
the
the flowering,
ones
the
like
longer
hit
the
you
effect.
really hard, and then you come down pretty quickly.
I also find it much more pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's less paranoia on the end, you know?
Well, and I think, but a lot of people in the States, because they haven't experienced sativas or really good hazes, they think of the sativas as the ones that make your heart beat out of your chest, that give you paranoia.
That's fentanyl, no?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, but some of the hazes, you get some of the strong, super strong hazes. They will do that.
Yeah,
but they're not all like
really
that.
strong.
No, but you also have that with strong indicas.
Yeah.
You do. Well, with strong indicas, they have this narcotic effect where you just feel super tired.
And you see more people getting more slightly to the paranoia side if you smoke too much of that, you know?
Right.
You heard that much more than with the sativas.
Well, and then there's the feel-good weed, which is what I like. That no matter how much you smoke it, you just feel really good. And I think so the guy that passed away, his name was Dave Mesford. We did a podcast the week before he passed, and he was one of my good friends, photographer. He gifted me a seed collection. But he really was breeding for effect, right? At the end of the day, also flavor, but his priority was how does it make you feel? And he was, he worked with some Nigerian hazes, some really wild stuff, that we're pheno hunting that.
So what was his percentage of THC according to him? What's the range that?
He was more into the mild THC. Like it wasn't about
15 to 22.
I would say 15 to 20, maybe even 15 to 22.
15 to 20, yeah.
That range, but like that.
I think that's the best range for a perfect workout and a terpene profile.
Right.
Because the higher you get, the more the terps get more complicated to have this really nice.
And
body,
flavor,
flavor,
Yeah, there's a trade-off.
The flavor gets not better, I don't know how to explain that.
Well, I think there's a trade-off. So the higher the cannabinoids get, there's only so much room on the plant for chemical compounds, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at it like that, then the terpenes a lot of times are less. It's very rare that you have something that tests in the 30s, like truly tests in the 30s, that has super high terpenes.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
So tell me now, this perception here, like, if we both chefs, in the past, we love to cook together. We did that many times. How is it possible that everybody is smoking this hydro weed, even the cocoa weed, which we're smoking now? Because I only grow organic. I try to grow on soil, mostly on soil. Yeah. If we go to a restaurant and we would get organic food, we would never come back, you and me.
Right.
The tomatoes taste like water. The cucumber doesn't taste nice.
Yeah.
The salad is not good. Here in North California, you have great food. It's all organic. Yeah. And then you go to a dispensary and all those big guys, they all grow on rock or on cocoa.
Instagram.
Why is everybody smoking that? Because it's ridiculous.
Well, it's because of the way it looks. So people have gone away for the bag appeal, right?
They don't give a shit then about the taste.
Well, I think it's something that we have to reintroduce to the people, unfortunately, there's a lot of new smokers, and so they don't know the difference. So they're educated on cannabis by Instagram and social media and the hype. And so it's so important that your stuff looks good on Instagram, right? And that's what I love about the pre-rolls and the hand rolls, like what we have right here, because then you don't have to look at it. You smoke it. If you can, I would love to be able to have a product where people didn't care what it looked like. I could give them that, and they trusted my brand so much that they bought it and they were like, that's amazing. I don't even care what the flower looks like.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about effect and flavor. Like those two things are so important. But social media has gone in this direction where I think there's a good side to social media and a bad side, but definitely with the cannabis, it's like about how it looks, right? So it has to look a certain way. But then there's things like Oreos that have no terps whatsoever. They look amazing. And it's nothing I would ever want to smoke. And there's a lot of stuff like that. But back to your point about the hydro, I feel like if you're going in rock wool, you can grow okay stuff. There's the guys that are doing it the best. They grow okay. They're yielding
but it's
pretty
exactly
good.
what you say. Okay stuff. But it's not special.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the genetics, they work okay for that. They work good for that.
Sure.
Right. But I would say cocoa is the happy medium because you get the yields and the consistency.
Okay. Now, let's say we agree on that. Next issue.
Yeah.
Is it healthy?
I don't know. I feel like smoking soil is better on my lungs, but that's just.
But
that's,
this, but it,
I don't think we've done enough studies.
Lungs. It's a non-chemical if you use organics.
Yeah, if
even if you put a
salts.
mineral through soil, then you get away with it. But the real liquid chemicals that American fertilizer companies throw on the fucking hydro.
Yeah.
And we're all so green, we're all marijuana, we're all cannabis, we're all smoking this.
Yeah.
What's going on? I don't think it's a good thing.
But we won't know for
You can
years.
argue about, this and that. But this is, again, spreadsheets, guys. This is the same people, that made America and Europe obese, and killing us with the wrong nutrients. Yeah?
Well, but...
And all those kids are going with the baggy, this is great, the bag appeal is fantastic. Yeah, the bag appeal in hydro is fantastic.
Yeah.
But
now
you're
they're
smoking a chemical.
Terping their weed too. You've seen that. They had the terp pouches next to us. Those were real cannabis terps. But there are the fake terps where they have non-cannabis terps, and they're adding that in there.
What are you doing, bro?
Yeah. But that's just like McDonald's, right? So but that's nothing I enjoy. I think, unfortunately, there's something for everybody.
No, but
it's like the testing in America. You're selling a product that's 35%, but they're spraying THCA on it, and that's it. And then they send it to the testing facility.
You remember in the beginning, you guys had here, and it was a bit of a hype, but you had the PGR nugs, the
ones that were rock hard.
Yeah. And then at some point, everybody they're away from PGR, but still,
it's illegal. It's illegal in California. PGRs are now illegal.
But it doesn't mean they don't use it, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because you still have it. It's still around,
right.
but people still want those really tight nugs, even after they know it's illegal and it's bad for you.
Well, I think PGRs help people get bigger yields, and that's why they want them. But it's nothing I'm interested in.
It's not only PGRs that are a problem. I don't know what else is in those nutrients. But look, this coughing disease. Yeah. You heard about it? This really bad coughing and puking. This puking, what everybody has. I don't know the name. What's the name of it?
I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but it's the one with the cannabis that basically makes you sick and makes you want to throw up.
And really sick.
Yeah.
So, and my son-in-law and my son have it by huge coincidence. So we did extensive tests the last 3 years. So my son-in-law had it a long time. He's rushed into a hospital a few times.
Yeah.
And there we find the medicine that stops the puking in half an hour.
Yeah.
But the puke doesn't stop.
You still have the dry heaves or whatever.
And you hear this really funny puke where, when people have nothing in them anymore, this high tone puke.
Right.
And we had to save him last year in Rolling Loud. In the middle of the night, had to rush him to the hospital because we didn't have the medicine with us and we were smoking the whole day. He got the attack. And he already figured out when he smokes Dutch-grown weed, he doesn't have it. And when he smokes Kali weed, with hydro, he gets it.
Huh.
My son now, exactly the same.
Interesting.
So I catch him one night puking, He's 18. And I heard a sound. And I say, hey, you have the same as Zigo, man. Yeah. So we went to the hospital, got the medicine, gone.
Yeah.
And he was smoking Kali weed.
Interesting.
So I don't know what's going on there, but
you want some
so we have the cure for this because I saw some people talking in the press. It's quite new, this puking disease. And I know the cure. And I also think it's related to kali weed.
You think to the salts?
There must be something in the nutrients.
But you have a nutrient company too with your powder feeding. And
Yeah.
in fact, you are the innovator of powder feeding to a degree. I'm sure they had it in big ag before you guys had it, but you really kind of reintroduced it to the cannabis market. And now a lot of companies have followed suit.
Well, we started it 10 years ago, and it's not our core business, but I felt that all the nutrients we're doing, this big liquid stuff, was going in the wrong direction. And I knew it was possible, but I was good friends with Larry OS, the general hydroponics. Said, Arjan, it's not possible. We tried everything. Can't have a one component, Yeah. Okay. So we kept working and working and working until we figured it out. No? Yeah. So I think the organic one we have is the best one in the world with the soil. And then we have, of course, also the mineral line. But we made it for a very reasonable price and very easy access. People love it, because you mix it to the soil and you walk away.
Well, you have a buffer in there and everything.
Yeah, of course. With the salts, with the minerals, you add, if your water is not good, you add some calcium, and with a booster and stuff like that. But it's still one component, and it's very easy to use. But it's a very fair product, Everybody who starts it doesn't go away from it anymore.
Well, and low carbon footprint. I think that's the big takeaway for a lot of places like the Caribbean. I think it's super important to not transport extra water to a place like the Caribbean.
Look, you remember Jamie Oliver going to the schools in England showing the kids? You remember that
the
thing?
Best.
You remember with the kid with McNuggets, how he did that?
Yeah.
So he took the whole bloody chicken, put it in a fucking blender and all that shit, and kids were freaking out, yeah?
Yeah.
So that's what you're eating. They all stopped.
Yeah.
I think if you can go to a big grow and show them real soil, and the grandmother is there, how she make a real pasta with a good brand, with real tomatoes from outside, tastes so much better. Or you show them the indoor with the hydro, with all these chemicals, and that goes through your lungs. This is the reality.
Totally.
And for me, I want to smoke this really nice indoor. And if you look now, I wish I could do on large scale living soil, because I see all my little friends with their closet grows doing the living soil.
All the craft farmers out there for sure.
Fucking taste amazing.
Yeah.
All the stuff we've had in the last 3 days, or 4 days.
All living soil, bro. Fucking worms and everything. It tastes amazing. Yeah. That's what you want to eat and that's what you want to smoke. I would already be scared to smoke every day all this hydro, Because I would think I'm going to get sick at one day.
Right. Well, so my next question for you would be, from hydro to indoor grows, where do you see the future of cultivation? Because I know you believe in the greenhouse model, being Dutch and also doing your thing in Thailand. Do you see the hybrid model as being the future for the industry, especially in the United States?
Well, it depends a lot on what country you are for the climate.
Sure.
Because, if you're in North Canada and you have to heat up that glass house, you're going to lose a lot of electricity costs.
Yeah.
It also depends on your electricity bill and which country you are. Like in North Europe, it's 25 cents. And in Argentina, it's 5 cents.
Yeah.
So already that, what are you going to do? Yeah. I think for both is something, for all something to say. I think outdoor wheat is great for extraction. If you can do that, why should you not grow outdoor? Nobody's going to see the flower. And you have a great terpene profile.
Yeah.
Especially here in North Cal, where you probably have the best climate in the world, like where I'm in North Thailand. But then you have the glass house, which could be hybrid. Like my glass houses have no light because I'm on the equator.
Yeah.
So I don't need light depth.
You don't have any assisted
Nothing.
lights. Yeah.
I only have 3 big exhaust fans blowing in and 3 big exhaust fan blowing out and 1 in the middle to help out,
Yeah.
And I have great sun.
When you don't need to dehumidify or humidify.
No, because between October and March, I'll be under 50.
Yeah.
So I'm fine, And then you have, of course, the indoor.
Sure.
You could be in very complicated areas like in North Canada.
Yeah.
Or in Patagonia, in the south of the planet or wherever. And you need a lot of electricity, but it's no other way,
Right.
In some areas you can't grow. So, and then you have the GMP story.
Right.
Like where it gets technically difficult is glasshouse, of course, is less stable than indoor.
Yeah.
So for us is to fine tune that. We are the first in the world to go through that process, Can we do that? Because every crop you can imagine is a little bit different.
For sure.
Because sometimes we have 7 weeks of sun, but sometimes we have 5.5.
Well, the light intensity changes throughout the year.
Yeah, so
and
this
there's
means
clouds and
this means your profile changes a little bit. Now we have a leverage of 20% in a GMP.
wow.
So, if it's 20, it can be 18, but you can't go to 17 because then the batch is disregarded,
Yeah.
And then also time of the year. You have like in Thailand, you have a few seasons.
Right.
Like in Europe, we have 4 seasons. You have 4 seasons here too, I assume.
We have
Autumn.
4.
So if you have 4 seasons in a glass house and you have supplemental light, but the terp profile will be different because of the sunlight,
Sure.
So how far can you play with that and how far?
Oh, with spectrum tuning now, I mean, I think there's new possibilities, but yeah, you're still going to get a different chemical profile because there's so many micro variables that change. But your best bet is with a Venlo or with these glass greenhouses.
Yeah, but then it's also our duty as a community,
right,
to make sure that we have certain kind of leverage in the GMP,
sure,
where we all accept that the terpenes this time of the year are a little bit less than the other time of year, but it still qualifies as a medicine.
Yeah, and the only time this comes into it can be a major issue is with chemotyping when you're looking for that exact chemical profile for like drug discovery or for medicine. But they can do a lot of stuff with extraction as well. So I think Israel has gone through a lot of of that over the past like 15 years. Dedi Miri, I talked to him a couple times and trying to get him on the podcast. But the drug discovery and stuff they're doing over there and trying to keep the chemical profile the same in greenhouses or even just in the same environment. Because the plant can change over time. And what's your thoughts on Israel? As far let's not talk about politics.
Yeah, we can
cannabis.
talk about. I was there 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was invited by a few different factories. But for me personally and for our company, long story short, we will never go back.
Yeah.
No, we do not agree on their policy. I think it's too harsh for us.
Yeah.
And that's it's just a very complicated country.
Very complicated.
They have a different vision than most of other people. And for me, it's a no-go.
So what other countries do you guys have on the horizon that you guys are thinking about?
Well, we're going to shoot a few movies in a few very interesting countries.
Yeah.
We never... look, one I can say a little bit, but for security reasons, we don't say where we go.
Yeah.
Because some countries are very illegal. So we go in as a National Geographic team with cameras, so we're going to shoot some whatever deer or bird,
Right.
We play that game sometimes. It depends a little bit where it was,
Russia.
It is close to Russia.
Nice. That's good.
And it's going to be on horses.
Oh, wow.
I can't say where.
That sounds exciting.
It is very exciting. So that one is on the radar, and there's 3 more on the radar. I want to speed it up, the process. I've been already fooling around with the camera, with my camera guy to do quicker things like 5 days things. But I really like to make a documentary,
Yeah.
And that a documentary costs time and a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it costs, preparing, preferably going the season before to really see how it is.
Yeah.
And then come back the season after, or have really good fixers in the country, which we mostly have, because the surprise is also really nice. What we used to do with Vice, so like really surprisingly going to a country where you don't know what's going to happen and everything happens.
Yeah.
Luckily, in my case, I always have a laptop with me with my movies on because people can be very skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
But one way or the other, they love to be in the film.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I don't know, And of course, there's always a few exceptions. We protect everybody.
Sure.
You can see my Swaziland movie. People are all blurred in their faces.
Yeah.
So nobody can see that. Or I do the interview from behind, so they speak this way and I'm sitting there,
Mm-hmm.
It depends a little bit on the situation. We learned a lot. I changed my group now again. I have a new group.
Yeah.
I have all the camera guys from the rappers in Holland. So we're trying something new. Turned out really nice, the Taiwan. Different angles and whatever. So there was quite easy because it was a legal country. But for example, the first time we had Franco's uncle who won the Film Festival of Venice as a camera guy.
Yeah.
And he came with the big boom, in Africa. People freaking out, bro.
Yeah.
It didn't work. They said the boom is out, do whatever with mics and stuff.
Yeah.
Luckily, the cameras got much better, And what totally changed everything is the drones.
Yeah.
Especially with marijuana.
Oh, I bet.
You see,
This
the
changes game.
South African
Totally.
one we were making that review. So we did 100 Ks, and this was amazing. The South African one. So I called this, I want to do South Africa, because this is the area where, besides the political thing we're talking about, we also helped a lot of communities in this world. And we can tell one is Transkei.
Yeah.
There's millions of plants growing from us. That's only full gas.
Yeah.
Actually, cheese times sherbet. Grows amazing there. Franco's kids were born there in the early 2000s when we worked there. And the Transkei was the poorest country in the world. Well, one of the three, like Sudan, you know?
Yeah.
60% TBC, 40% HIV.
Wow.
And we were sleeping in the tents with these people, you know? It was quite tricky there, you know? Growing a lot of seeds. So I'll make a long story short. 20 years later, I said, listen, I want to make that movie there. Because also the American helicopters, the South African pilots would teach, like what they do in Colombia, spraying over the fields, spraying on the people.
Oh, wow.
Very bad. So the people run to a big river, Uzumbuvi River. The helicopters, it's very steep, so the helicopters cannot reach that, you know?
Yeah.
So they moved all there and started growing. And I know that story. And it was 2021, and we were all quite bored. We were redoing all our shops in Amsterdam, and I wanted to do a movie. Everything was impossible. But one way or the other, through a friend of mine who's still a friend of us, but he said, listen, call this guy in Joburg. He's got a rafting company. Maybe he wants to do it. Because we had to do 100 Ks of rafting on a river that has never been rafted before.
Yeah.
And this is not two guys in a raft, with big rafts with 300 kilo of supply on the raft, 10 rafts, yeah? We have 4 actors, supporting boats, chef, you know, the whole lot, yeah? So I called the guy, and he said, Arjan, I've never been on that river. You guys are not professional rafters. I can't take the risk. People are going to die, blah, 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 you know?
Right.
So we kept talking, and at one point I was talking again, but we are quite cool guys, you know, we can handle a problem, you know?
Yeah.
And we start talking, and I showed him my movies a little bit more, you know, we train hard, we were very fit, you know? He said, okay, Arjan, are you willing to sign a non-liable, how you say that?
Waiver. A waiver.
A waiver.
Sure.
Yeah. I said, yeah, of course, no problem, bro. He said, I'm not going to lie to you. If you pay me, you will also save my company, because it was Corona.
Oh.
He was losing his money. So we'll make a long story short. I said, listen, I do all these things under one condition. I want to have the best food in the world on the trip this time, yeah? Because his wife was a chef, and I knew that.
Oh, wow.
So I said, okay, let's do it. I'll make a long story short. We went there, and the first day was 12 hours in this canoe, in this raft. And then we came, and then on the side of the river, on the islands, we put tents up, yeah? So we sleep in tents, you know? Right. We do barbecue. We went 8 days on that river. We did 200 Ks.
Amazing.
From the mountains, cold water, to where the ocean starts.
You go any rapids or anything like that?
Yeah, many rapids.
Mm-hmm.
You can see them in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
We went upside down a few times. Yeah. But we're talking about the drone, yeah? Right. This way I'm explaining this situation. And and I said, listen, guys, I want 2 drones with us, you know? And Bert said, yeah, this and that. But he did Oscar-winning movie with Meryl Streep that was made in South Africa. He was the drone pilot.
Wow.
Some Oscar movie. Maybe it was not Meryl Streep, but one of those.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Gorillas in the Mist or one of those.
Well, anyway, he was the drone pilot. He said, Arjan, I can do it. I said, we're going to do the river rafting. Can you imagine this drone there?
Yeah.
And then you go over the raft, and then you see the fields on the side.
Right.
And it's $1 million shot, no?
Nice.
He said, let's do it. And it turned out perfectly, you know. And that we did in 21, you know, with the drones.
Wow.
So there, the perception of making the film changing, you know. Also, like, not anymore with all these big things, you know. Like, it's not necessary, you know. Right. You can make as much. And we have the 360 and the GoPros, you know.
Yeah.
A lot.
They're really great.
Yeah.
But still, sometimes it's a challenge to get all the equipment in, on the drones and stuff.
The drones is an issue, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd love to talk about Franco for a minute, if that's okay. But yeah, so my book was dedicated to Franco, and he was one of my friends, but he was your best friend.
Yeah.
And as far as his legacy, you want to talk about his legacy a little bit? I know there's the Franco Aloha Foundation, and I mean all the videos you do.
Yeah, well, I started working with Franco early 2000. So we were 15 years together. He was an amazing guy. He was really crazy. And I think in 2001, we got the first license in the world, medical license. This was in Naaldwijk with an American guy called James Burton. I don't know if you know the story. Him is in the newspapers.
Right.
But of course, it was my place.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we were not allowed to say that because the first medical marijuana license was very legal to be affiliated to a coffee shop guy.
Yeah.
So we financed everything. And then he was working from 99 to 2001 in my coffee shop on the Waterloopplein, the little one. You remember? Upstairs I was living. And at one point my wife said, I need more growers. I need more growers. He said, go speak to this Italian guy that's working in the Waterloopplein already 2 years. He's very passionate. I think he would love to grow for us. So I go there, you know, and he just finished his hotel school in Leeuwarden. Oh, I said, it's my dream to work for you. My dream, he said. So I took him, and then we started growing on a small scale in Amsterdam. We were growing, but I put him in the seed tents, you know, like the small 2-3 light things, you know.
Right.
And suddenly James Burton came, who was already supplying me. He said, I can get a license for medical marijuana. What? Didn't even know it was existing, no? He said, yeah, but we need a guy in and we have to put a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know how it went, but Franco became that guy. Yeah? He said,
course.
Franco, listen.
Yeah, he's still showing the pictures.
We still have the pictures and everything. He said, listen, I have something really crazy now. And you are the guy you want to do it? She, of course I'm going to do it. So you're going to be 3 years in a glass house. It's 50 degrees Celsius inside, which is at 130, 140 in the summer. And we're going to grow medical weed and we're going to sell it to patients. So that's how the whole thing started.
Wow.
So I teach him all the growing and how to do everything, you know. And then in 2005, he became such a character with me and in my shops and speaking the language. And he's like a real street kid. He's a little bit like my son, you know, like Dax.
Yeah.
Friends with, you know, with the underground very quickly. And I thought I was already working on a Strain Hunter movie after King of Cannabis was only in the shops with the cannabis cup and shit. Yeah. And I said, okay, now I need to go to the jungle. I can't do this on my own.
Yeah, I needed special.
And I learned from Hager, you need the characters.
Yeah.
Because High Times had all these characters. You remember the Rocketeers and the Fantusias and the Hager. And so I said, okay, this guy speaks 5 languages. He spoke 5 languages, was a big advantage. Mm-hmm. I said, let's take him. Yeah, it was a great hit, of course, you know.
Yeah, and because he did special forces, no?
Oh yeah, and he was 4 years special forces in Italy. That tiger or lion thing he had here.
Yeah,
so he was a survivor.
What's the special forces in America? You have 2 of them.
Navy SEALs.
Yep. He was with them.
Yeah.
But then the Italian version. The
Italian version.
It's probably
the crazy Italian version. Yeah.
Yeah. So so we had great fun, you know, and he had a little bit the same set mind as me, you know, go to more difficult countries. So that's how we also winded up in Africa in 2004. We didn't start it in 2000. We started there, I think, in 2005. And then went Congo, of course. And that's
India,
where
in the beginning.
India and then in Congo, the disaster happened, you know. Franco was wild. And I sent him a few times to the doctor when he came back. And he said he went, but he didn't. And the doctors told him he didn't have malaria. And they made that conclusion because he didn't have fever. But in his family, people get sick without fever, which is a quite rare disease. Yeah. And the doctor ignored that, you know. And then, then shit happened.
Yeah.
But he was a great guy. I had fucking so much fun with that guy,
He's amazing. Bro. He loved weed more than anybody that I ever met.
He was, I remember the first night I took him to South Africa. And he was quite young. And where we were, I think I have footage of that somewhere. There's crocodiles, there's bull shark, and there's black mamba. It's the 3 worst things you can have.
Right.
Exactly. There where Simon lives.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So we are there with Simon.
Yeah.
Simon, long-time friend of mine, of course, too.
Yeah.
And we sleep together in one tent, you know. It's probably 11, 12 o'clock. And we have to get up at 4 or 5. You know, and you work in Africa, you shoot movie. Yeah. You have the golden hour between 6 and 8. So 4:30 you get out, you know, you eat something quickly, a coffee, and you go shoot, no?
Right.
But we're late, and we only can sleep 2 hours. It's like 1 o'clock. And we're lying, and the motherfucker puts the light on in the tent, this little light. So put it off, man. We go fucking sleep now, yeah? No. I have to do something. So what do you have to do? Yeah, I have to roll 2 joints. 2 joints? Bro. Yeah. You don't understand. 1 if I wake up at 3, and 1 for a piss, and the other one if I wake up at 4:30. And I'm lying there. Okay, I'm not going to argue with this guy because he's mad, yeah?
Right.
Yeah. So he walks out of the tent, and he starts rolling the joints there, and he comes back in the tent, and he put the lights off 10 minutes later, but he leaves the door open. I said, you left the door open. Yeah, no problem. I said, will fucking mother Black Mamba come in because it's nice and humid in this room? We're fucked tomorrow morning, yeah? Later we find like 20 in our grow rooms, yeah? You have never seen a guy jump so quickly out of his bed to close the curtain of the tent. Yeah, I had so many. But we had serious situations too, with shooting with soldiers. And, we went for it,
Getting chased in Colombia.
Oh, bro, we were in, I can't say on this part, I can't say, the part.
Yeah.
So we were in a rough part. We were the only white people going in and out of that area, for many years.
Wild times.
Funny thing.
Yeah, you've had some adventures.
Yeah, great ones.
Yeah.
But he was a great guy. Unfortunately, he left. Yeah, what to do?
Yeah. Some of the best ones die young.
Well, we buried our partner just 2 months ago in Thailand. I buried my best friend 7 years ago. I buried 5 friends in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
But it's happened when you get a little bit older and when you are in, I don't know,
Yeah, I feel like you get to 40 and then you start losing friends and it just gets to be more and more every year.
Yeah.
I guess that's why we got to appreciate each moment.
I think it's the most healthy thing, appreciate life.
Yeah.
Make sure your children always come home.
Yeah.
The moment your children don't come home anymore, then you did something wrong.
Yeah, now my parents come home. It's great.
Yeah.
So if you had one piece of advice for younger people coming into this industry, I'm going to ask both of you guys this question too, from your own perspectives. But what would that one piece of advice be?
Well, the industry is quite broad, Yeah. But if you want to become a grower, I would be an organic grower. Let it be normal organic or living soil and make a craft brand. Because I think then you have the most chance in if you and have a dispensary like that you are vertically integrated so you can build up your own community. Yeah. I think that's our strong point. And in Amsterdam and in Thailand, this is us.
Yeah.
This is where we grow and this you can smoke, you like it or you don't like it, but and there's nothing in the middle there.
Right.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Basically like you see the really good Michelin star restaurants, they have their own grow.
Yeah, they have their own farms.
Their own farms. Yeah. They go pick up their shit in the morning and they make the best food in the night. And
even the ones that don't have contracts with specific farms and farmers, also people that grow specific animals.
And how successful any Michelin star restaurant is successful in the world.
Yeah.
Because it's a limited amount. And why they're successful? Because they grow the best organic food.
Yeah.
And they're the only ones that are healthy.
Yeah.
And that's why I think my advice would be grow organic, or at least on soil. Yeah. Make a good product and see how close you can stay to your customer by selling it in your own dispensary,
Yeah.
Or make sure it's marketed well and then put on a shelf in another dispensary really well,
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you are small, then you don't depend on investors, you can do your own thing. I think that's the best advice I can give you.
Yeah. And then what would your one piece of advice be for younger people coming in the industry?
Well, for any industry or just in life, basically, because I have 2 older sons as well, going into life, and going into doing some kind of business, where they can make a living. It's so cliche, but I'll explain a bit more. It's doing what you really like.
Yeah.
They say you don't work a day in your life if you do what you love, right?
Yeah.
But the people see, for us, it's the whole package, because there's such a misconception sometimes, because what the people see on our Instagram, we get so many comments, of course, of almost everybody. I love your life. I would, your life is so fantastic. But people have no idea that for every nice thing you see on Instagram, this is a message. There's at least 10 or 20 huge, big fucking problems that we have to solve. And the shit that we get every day and from a lot of different sides, right? But because we have the whole thing and we have these really nice things, the whole package, I wouldn't do anything different,
Yeah.
And that's what I said to my son too. He's in business. He said, Dad, I have to solve so much shit every day. I said, yeah, basically that's your job now. You're just a problem solver. And at the end of the day, you have to switch off and do nice things and make it worth your while. Basically, that's what I would advise. Do what you love, but do it with a big passion,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, passion is, you need passion.
Passion's everything.
If you don't have the passion, then nothing's going to happen,
So circling back to Franco, passion for the sacred plant, that hashtag that I used to use originally and that I still use today, I started with Franco. Like we were smoking, and that
What
came out
hashtag
of
is that?
passion for the sacred plant.
Oh yeah.
So that started with Franco a long time ago, and then Full Gas is your one. So that'll live on. Those
That was
those
his
will live
plant,
on.
Full Gas. That's
that was
he
his.
always liked that, So that's why
Yeah.
we named it after him. And he always just Full Gas, yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't have a break.
Right.
It's-
He's
when
pedal
the
to the metal.
Unfortunately, that's also why he passed away. It's the reality of life.
Right.
Like he was too wild.
Yeah.
That's his life motto was full gas.
Full gas. Yeah.
We go for for the hard stuff, for the good stuff. We go full.
I think if
All
he
the
was,
way in.
Never
yeah.
halfway.
I think if he would not be with me, he would have died like 3 times earlier already.
Wow.
We had some crazy
yeah,
stuff
but
happening. But sometimes you have to follow a little bit the middle way.
Yeah.
Eh? Some countries are quite dangerous.
For sure.
For me, that day because I don't know if a lot of people know, but he first was a few days in coma, right? So on the day that my youngest kid was born, that was the end of December, 30 December. I walk out of the hospital with my newborn baby, and I call him up to tell him the good news. And Franco just went into hospital in coma. So I traveled to Barcelona also, and a couple of days later he died. So it was very bizarre period always, and basically it's also a metaphor for life, no? Somebody new is coming.
Realize how prestige life is,
Yeah.
And then you wonder, why are the politicians killing our own population? Why are we smoking hydro?
Yeah.
Did it go so far that we just fucked up everything now? And yes, because we are all killing our own population with the wrong foods, all the seed oils we are eating, which are super bad for your body,
Yeah.
And all these chemicals that are using, and like the overtone of sugar and gallons
sugar,
of
especially sugar. That's
sugar,
worse.
bro.
That's the worst one.
That's the
right, in my
fuel
opinion.
for tumors and bad cells.
Right.
It's the worst product on this world,
That's this. It's worse than the drugs. In my
There's
opinion.
more people got killed through sugar than to all the diseases and all the wars together. Do the math on that.
Yeah.
So more people got killed.
Yeah.
From sugar than from anything else.
Yeah, it's wild.
And we just let it all happen.
Yeah.
Look at the supermarkets, how supermarkets are made. So you walk into a supermarket, which is a genius idea, but it's not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So you come in, you see only beautiful colors
Yeah.
of the vegetables and the fruits to make you happy.
Right.
But they stimulate your eye. Then you walk and you smell the bread. And then you wind up at the till with your little kids with a candy as an eye height, the right one for them, And then you fill up everything and you take only the shit with you.
Right.
Yeah, bread is for nothing, candy is for nothing,
Yeah, it's the bad calories.
Well, we have to fight the stigma though, because the association of the retailers association, we got a letter from one of the biggest sugar candy companies, Haribo. Don't know if you know.
Oh yeah,
and
we know
some
them really
companies were making fake edibles, with their logo and stuff.
Yeah, I've
and
seen them in
so
Spain.
in the letter, it mentioned, of course, we don't want to be associated with, this is cannabis, this is a drug. So if you look at that letter, you think. But the problem in our industry, and that's why we're all fighting, is 99% of all people agree with Haribo.
Yeah.
And they don't see the ridiculousness of that letter. Saying, cannabis is bad and, we have to protect our dear product.
And also, our own communities are not, within our groups, we are not protected well enough, Look in America, everybody's suing each other in cannabis.
Lawsuits everywhere.
Lawsuits all over
I don't know
the place.
anything about those.
Yeah. I know only about
we
lawsuits.
Definitely don't want to support the lawyers.
We never had...
They're the only ones that win in lawsuits.
Exactly.
Really.
We can say proudly... We have avoided maybe 15 lawsuits that we all settled outside the room really quickly with idiots, mostly with staff and stupid things.
Yeah.
We always try to stay away. But this is a big problem of our industry,
Yeah.
And then on the top of that, all the listed companies come in and blow the money of the investors, pops and mom's money,
Right.
And that's just why also we are not strong enough as like the NHL will be, or the baseball league, or the ice hockey league, or whatever,
Right.
Because they're smarter together and all have one goal.
Yeah.
In our industry, there's a few people who want to eat the rest.
Yeah.
Like the big corps that are coming in.
Yeah.
And then there's the small crafted grower that's been pushed out. You see the guys in North Cal everywhere.
Especially in Humboldt, it's the worst.
In Humboldt is the worst, So, and that's why there's also not enough unity in our world
Yeah.
to make that we are stronger and we can fight as a big group, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's so many diversity and issues and politics and whatever, you know?
Right.
Whereas in pharma and in sugar, they protect each other really well.
For sure. Well, those are really long established industries too. So I think we'll get there.
Yeah,
Hopefully
we'll
in
get
the right direction.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways we are going in the right direction. I just think some of this takes a lot of time to stabilize.
Let's finish positive this podcast.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know?
So if people are interested in finding out more about greenhouse seeds, strain hunter, powder feeding, where can they? Thailand. They're going to Thailand. Where can they go?
Thailand, your next holiday destination, guys. I think Thailand, let me say one more thing because I would like to end really positive about Thailand. I've been in 103 countries. I've lived in, this is number 10. Me and Joa, we have a really nice house together in Sukhumvit. You're most welcome to come there one day.
Yeah.
Beaches, restaurants, logistics, zero crime, great schools, one of the best, maybe the best country. If you look everything together, it's maybe the best country in the world.
Wow.
You can eat a great soup on the street for $2, even $1.50 him and me. And like a proper soup, where there's a line of people waiting, yeah?
Amazing.
So that is your next holiday destination.
Literally, my next holiday destination is one of them, for
And
sure.
you can fly to the islands, everything with your bag full with weed, absolutely no problem. You can open for security,
And there you can smoke all our products as they should be. Like full sun-grown, indoor, glass house, premium indoor, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I think I would like to invite everybody in this world to come and see Thailand, you know, especially out of our industry. Like there's not enough space for everybody because it's already a little bit like Cali. There's too many coffee shops, there's too many growers. So there will be a natural way that these things all will settle, you know.
Yep.
And but for tourist people, for people who'd like to have a nice holiday, this is one of the best countries in the world to come.
Nice. So Greenhouse Seed Co. at Instagram, Arjan Strain Hunter at Instagram, Joa Greenhouse at Instagram. And then you guys also have greenhouseseedcompany.com.
Greenhouse Seeds, greenhouseseeds.com. That's our main portal. Our main portal. You have Greenhouse Brands, and then we have Greenhouse Amsterdam. We do a lot of clothing. We're getting more and more into that because my kids are getting into that. Yeah. And of course, we do collabs now with Pata, which is one of the famous brands in Holland.
Nice.
And with Propaganda, which is from Noise, the Italian rapper. You probably saw some pictures from us there.
Oh, yeah.
So we're doing collabs now with clothing. It's nice. It's just a side thing, you know?
Right.
And that's also one of the Instagram pages.
Nice. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I look forward to filming with you guys in Thailand. And let's get some dinner.
Yeah.
Let's get, maybe we do a strain hunter one day together.
We should do a strain hunter. I'd love that.
We take some American guys with us.
Yeah.
You know? Take to some funny country, maybe like Peru or Bolivia or whatever.
Sure.
I think here up north you can make a really nice.
And I think also one here up north in Humboldt and Mendocino, we could make a nice one.
There's some good ones, for sure.
We go there August, September, you know?
Yeah, Humboldt's amazing. Oregon, going through,
Just go visit 30 guys.
Yeah.
And shoot some nice
content. Look for the landrace genetics from Oregon.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe down below.